It's now Saturday, and we're just heading back from the campaign at Henley. Let's look at it now, 5:30. I'm with BNP Chairman Nick Griffin. There's one piece of news, obviously, that's dominated the news this week. That's been the Lisbon Treaty. Nick, you've got a form, really, for making some very accurate political social predictions. Where do you think we're going to go now?
I don't think it requires any crystal ball to see what's going to happen this one, Simon. Surely everybody knows that the European elite is going to push this through regardless of what the peoples of Europe, the European nations, actually think. Now, you've got a fantastic example of arrogance from President Sarkozy of France, who referred to the Irish referendum result as the Irish incident. As if that's all it is, it's something that'll pass. The Irish have made this dreadful mistake, or they're very stupid, it's just an incident, and we'll soon put it right. Whether they'll do that by ignoring Ireland, blackmailing Ireland, forcing them to have another referendum, I don't know, but my guess, like pretty much everyone else's, is that the Lisbon Treaty will go through in the pretty near future.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that got me was the fact that I went to bed, I think it was on the Wednesday night, I woke up on the Thursday, and the thing had been ratified by our government. It's the comical suddenness of it all. It's frightening, isn't it?
It really is. It's almost childish in the way they think that they can pull the wool over people's eyes. It's frightening, in fact, that the public don't react to this blatant destruction of the last vestiges of our freedom and our tradition and sovereignty. And it seems people moan about it a bit, and that's about as far as they go. But I think what's going on to an extent, the liberal elite, I don't think they've got any choice. The world economic situation is now so unstable that there's a reasonable chance that the euro could crumble within a couple of years. So it'd be absolutely unsustainable to have one interest rate across the whole of Europe at a time of recession, let alone depression. And of course, if the financial structure underpinning a united Europe collapses before they've got the last political blocks in place, then they can kiss goodbye to the whole project. So I think from their point of view, they've got no choice but to bulldoze this through. And if the Irish or the Czechs or French voters or whatever get in the way, they'll just squish them.
Yeah, I mean, you must remember, of course, that Gordon Brown promised us all a referendum on Europe. He said it was a categorical pledge, and nothing at all. Just out of interest, what do you think if we did have a referendum, if it's correctly worded as to whether or not we should sign, what do you think the percentage would be of people who would reject it?
If it was properly worded, so it really was about whether we should sign up to that or not, as opposed to should we leave Europe and starve, or something similar, if it was done properly, then my guess is that the enormous weight of money thrown at it by big business and the weight of the main parties being basically in favour would only just be outweighed, as in Ireland, by a popular suspicion about what's going on, and in some cases knowledge about what's going on. So I reckon there'd be a 3 or 4% majority, 53, 54% in favour of the status quo, rather than going into a full federal Europe. If, of course, the actual implications, the real truth about both sides' positions were put, then we'd probably have, a two-thirds majority at least for withdrawal immediately. But as we know, that's not going to happen until we're in power, and we won't waste time with a referendum. We'll get ourselves elected on a mandate just to tear the Treaty of Rome up on the first day we're in.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is going to be running all the way now until the European elections, for which obviously we're fully committed now to stand in England, Scotland and Wales. And do you think this will be the issue that election will be fought over? Obviously, 2004, it was about the pound, whether or not we should keep the pound. Do you think the economic conditions are so bad that they're going to overshadow the European elections, and that the Euro elections will not be fought on a European issue, for instance?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I think they will be fought as a way or rather treat it for the public, whatever the political elite tell them they should and shouldn't discuss. I think the public will treat it as a giant referendum on Gordon Brown and the Labour Party, and I think they will absolutely crucify them. And the actual issues at stake will probably just get swamped in the public wanting to kick Gordon Brown while he's down.
Well, we all know the best way to kick Gordon Brown while he's down, and that's voting BNP, which, funnily enough, is the theme of the advert, which is plastered all over the Henley Standard and the Tame Gazette. A big picture of Gordon Brown and an encouragement by voters in Henley to vote BNP and really punish him. We've just been working down there, been in some of the areas. It's not all what you expect. What do you think? Again, I'm going to ask you with your predictions hat on. What do you think we're likely to get out of this election, and what could we get, and what is the significance of that?
Well, now we've had a significant number of inquiries and members just joining up on the spot down there with various of the people who have been campaigning, which is a very good sign. So it shows that there's something bubbling up underneath. There's no Tory squeeze. Tories have got a chance to vote for us to kick the Labour Party without letting anyone other than the Tories in. And at the same time, there is a small Labour vote there, which we know is drastically disillusioned. So I think we'll be streets ahead of the minor parties. I don't know with the Labour Party. We could beat them, which I don't believe we've done before in a parliamentary by-election. That'll be quite something. I'll be well happy with that. Overall, I still suspect that Middle England has got an enormous and growing amount of sympathy for our message, but that for now they'll give David Cameron a try, and that we're 3-4 years off being able to cut swathes through upper middle class Middle England. But who knows, it might be quicker than that. But for now, that's my take, that we'll get what is in fact a good vote for us in an area like that. But if you compare it to some of our good areas, it will be underestimating our support. Working class, artisan areas, people are proud to vote British National Party now. Some of these snobby places, I think people will still be wanting to do it, but whether they can get someone up with the moral courage, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, my own take on it, seeing some of the little villages and some of the hamlets, there is support for us there. There's no two ways about it. There is support. There's the facility there for people to not risk the fact that they're going to get a Conservative MP, but to perhaps nudge the Conservatives in our direction. And on the other side, there is a real opportunity for Labour supporters who are completely disillusioned with Labour to really give them a kick where it hurts. And it'll be really interesting to see what kind of vote we'll get on Thursday. I think Labour are going to do very badly indeed. Their campaign has been almost invisible there. There doesn't seem to be anything going on. They've resigned themselves to the fact that they are going to be completely and utterly whacked. So it could be a surprising night, but we've certainly learned a lot from fighting this by-election, haven't we? We've certainly brushed up some of the skills that we need to skill. We've learned some new tricks, haven't we?
We have. At the Sedgefield election, obviously we were very pleased with the vote there, but there were a number of failings in our campaign. The first one we really fought on an ambitious scale for a parliamentary by-election. So they don't come up very often these days. Going back 30 years ago, before most people became MPs, they probably come up through the ranks of local politics, and they were perhaps 55 or so before they became an MP. So you regularly used to get by-elections with MPs dying. Now you get them MPs at the age of 32, having never done a stroke of real work in their lives, fast-tracked through their party system. So you don't get by-elections very much. So this one, we thought, well, this isn't really our area, but there won't be a squeeze on for the Tories, so we can do passively. And it's a test run, because we need to debug the system, so that when we get a by-election in a good area, we're not then coming across the errors and the weaknesses, and we're way down the learning curve. So I'll be perfectly happy with speaking with Eddie Butler and several others about what we've learned from this, regardless of the vote. It'd be nice to do well, it'd be nice to save a deposit, but regardless of the vote, the lessons that we've learned in this